Satoko is infuriatingly amazing. That's the best way to put it. I don't think anyone ever thought they would say poor Tepe, but poor Tepe. To see, how he legitimately became a changed man, and then because Satoko snapped so much, now is manipulating him to the point of getting to where we left off and go for this arc, with him beating Keiichi with a baseball bat. It's heartbreaking, I have to say. Holy shit, I knew this arc, and this episode in particular, would be amazing, because I think in terms of Go, my personal favorite arc from that was the abuse arc, because it really gets you on board with cheering for Satoko, because, goddamn, it looks like she's being abused, and she is such an all-star actress that you buy into it, right? To really just see, the town and everything, do their best, but support workers not able to do much because the proof isn't there, and if there's no real signs, it's exactly how it is in the real world. And now to see how she set it in motion, because just looking back at Go, when she disappeared for that entire day, she came back so distraught at night. There was no sign, there was nothing other than she was sad to go back with her uncle. But to see it from her perspective, that she went, played games with him and his friends are saying, wow, I like this version of you. You seriously are a great guy. We are admiring you. We'd want to be like you. And she uses the perfect card, because you knew she was going to say something. I mean, we're talking about it in the comment section last week. Oh, people are being mean to me, uncle. Please take care of them. But the fact that she used her parents and, the town's hatred, or the village hatred towards them, and that the entire town is bullying her and throwing rocks at her, and how he's ready to take up arms to defend her, he can't say no to her. That moment when she's like, would you really die for me? It's insane to see how they really flipped a character. And don't get me wrong, the new Higurashi has done that a couple of different times, taking characters who were notoriously hated in the fandom and then making them either redeemable or not to the point where you want to throw them off a cliff, but see them get their second chance. And generally what would happen in a situation like this, if we didn't have Satoko going loopy, would be, we would probably say, okay, he's clearly a changed man, but it's up to Satoko if she wants to give him a second chance. And had this been a normal Satoko, I could definitely see a potential row that maybe they don't live together, at least anytime soon, but they could hang out every so often, as long as other people were around when they do so. But to see just, the fact of the money, right? The fact that the money that she gave him, this ridiculous amount, he's only taking what he needs to survive. And when he said he wants to make sure that if anything happens to him, that he has something to leave her, I gotta admit, that hit me. I was like, you really, if your objective was to humanize this character, you did a damn good job at that. And this episode, I think, was fantastic for two reasons. The Teppei Satoko content, as well as the Rika Satoko content. Because to just get even more, you're finally starting to see the cracks show in Rika's personality, where she's truly feeling like she's broken. I mean, she's having breakdowns in front of Satoko, and Satoko, being who she is basically saying, leaving the village is horrible, you're the priestess, you can't do things, you're being punished, if you just appreciate the beauty here. And the fact that Rika ends up saying, I was only thinking about myself, not you, yes. Obviously, Satoko shouldn't have gone to that school. Rika wanted to live her own life, but Rika's intentions were always good. She didn't want to leave her alone because she knows what she went through. Satoko could have done two things. One, easily mastered the exams, given the fact that she's literally memorized memory games because of how many times she's looped. She could have aced that school alongside Rika, but because she's so stubborn and up her own ass, she's like, no, killing Rika over and over until she bends to my will is the appropriate measure. Or two, she could have just stayed in the village by herself, and most likely her family would have come to her. Because I still firmly believe that theory that I saw floating around towards the end of Go, that when basically this all kind of unraveled and they were going back into the van, I imagine that van would have dropped Satoko off to her family. That's a very good theory, and I think is very likely, and probably is actually how Sotsu will end. I'm still fully convinced in some way. I digress. It's just so heartbreaking to see Rika, someone who suffered for 100 years, just try to get that freedom, finally had that freedom, sucked back in, and everything that she knows, because this isn't no longer playing by the original rule set, the doll to letting Reina in, none of it works. And to see Satoko, she's so two-faced. In front of her, she's that caring friend who's giving her that guiding logic. But as soon as she's not looking at her, she has the evil grin. To then just seeing what she did with the uncle, it's fantastic to see how they really fleshed this out. this time around with Sotsu, because I think this episode was probably one of my favorites in terms of both Go and Sotsu, because we knew she was going to manipulate the uncle at this point in time, and that's why the uncle did what he did. It wasn't that he was actually a scumbag this time around. But to see Rika, another form of her snapping and breaking, and also just seeing it from Satoko's perspective on how she really is emotionally manipulating Rika and just everything like that, to then seeing it from the uncle's perspective and how they really had this bond, and it wasn't just like she randomly did things. No, she purposely made them have a relationship so that when she came crying in her time of need, the uncle couldn't refuse and he wouldn't take premature actions, and she could craft it so the entire town rises up and hopefully breaks Rika. Holy shit. This is what I always love about Higurashi, because when you have situations like last week, a girl getting shoved down a goddamn shitter, which is brutal as shit, to even a censored fingernail scene. That's brutal and that's disturbing. But this stuff is just as disturbing, and you might even be able to argue more so because of just what she's done to these characters. Someone who deserved to leave this village and live her own life, to someone who's actually reformed and trying to be a better person, and has made great strides to prove that he is a changed person. God damn, this show is fantastic. Easily the best Thursday show for me, and I mean, I think it aired Thursday as well when Go was releasing. It's so good, and it's, I mean, on one hand, sad to know that once we reach episode 15, that probably is all it is for Higurashi anyway. But on the flip side, just thinking about the late game arcs and when everything is properly revealed, I mean, that gun, everything like that, that's going to be pretty insane. I am glad that they're furthering, fleshing it out, because I do see quite a few people throughout the weeks confused about why, as an example, last week, Satoko didn't just kill herself or whatever, right? No, she had to make sure Rika was dead, as it said in the beginning of the episode. If she prematurely kills herself and Rika's still alive, she'll be going to a new fragment and one where she's not even around. So she has to make sure that she follows Rika after Rika is dead, whether willingly or unwillingly, in terms of did Rika kill herself or did someone kill Rika, right? So I'm glad that they are refreshing that content, because some people, I think because there is so many different things at play, can overlook some things, especially if you're doing a week-to-week experience. So I think Sotsu is doing a good job at answering things without being repetitive with it, is probably the best way to put it. I mean, Rika's performance this week was absolutely fantastic. The transition, you really felt like this was a moment where a part of her broke, and she really didn't know what to do and what to say. She can't talk to Satoko because Satoko would think she's crazy because she doesn't know she's looping at this point in time yet, right? And just to see the transition to the infuriatingly amazing nature of Satoko. She is such a well-written antagonist. She infuriates you, but she's so amazing with the character writing, and to see arcs that, it's one of those situations where once you have one bad apple manipulate a situation for their own gain, then it ruins the majority of people who aren't doing it for gains, right? A majority of people who are saying they're abused are abused, but that one bad apple will taint the basically thought of anyone saying it in the future, especially for a cast of characters like this, and it's fantastically just horrifying. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you hope to see with this arc? Because definitely is already shaking up the formula quite a bit for me, but let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.